All right, Nick, let's talk about the Florida State Seminoles. As spring ball comes up, we're able to finally start seeing guys hit the field. We see transfers, we see new guys coming in, and it seems like there's some really talented individuals popping up at Florida State spring practice, showing that they are potentially the ones that are ready to break out for this team. Let's get into this article and we talk more about it on the other side. This is from SI.com, and it says Mike Norvell could barely hide his excitement when discussing Malik Benson after tour of duty, and now we know why. The Alabama wide receiver asserted himself with speed and shiftiness while going through his first season with the Seminoles. Benson had the catch of the day while diving for a catch in the middle of the field on a pass that was thrown too low. He easily won a rep in one-on-ones with a swift cut over the middle and hauled in a deep ball later in the drill. Nick, I think this just shows again that Florida State is getting some transfers into this program that are really going to shine at the wide receiver position. They did it last year with a guy like Keon Coleman. They did it this year with a guy like Benson. I think this is going to be a big jump for them. And I think this Benson guy is going to be a huge wide receiver for the Florida State Seminoles. Curious what your thoughts are. But before we get to you, Florida State fans, in the comment section below, who else are you looking at in spring ball as someone that you want to see what they're going to be like, if they're going to be a breakout candidate or not? What players do you have tabbed on your sheet to look at during spring ball and see how they perform? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest receiver transfer by Florida State?
I think this is a great sign that Benson's off to such a strong start because when you compare him to the other transfer that came to Florida State this past season, a guy, of course, we're all familiar with, the name of Keon Coleman, obviously the expectations and standard for transfer wide receivers at Florida State in recent memory are sky high because Coleman was an absolute superstar. The guy came to Tallahassee and just lit it up right out the gate, was a big time playmaker, and now, of course, is on bigger and better things in the National Football League, depending, of course, on the upcoming NFL draft. So again, high expectations. So coming in, I was expecting a lot of commentary around Malik Benson to be, he's picking it up. There's some things going on. He's doing fine, especially when you consider Florida State has a new quarterback, right? Jordan Travis, a number of years. They were sort of stable in a lot of positions, the important positions, allowed a guy like Keon Coleman to just kind of come in and just be an additional piece. It wasn't like a total revamped offense last season. It is a little bit revamped this year, of course, with Uiagalelei most likely taking the reins at quarterback, QB1, the transfer from Oregon State. Before that, Clemson, of course. So again, volatile environment. I was expecting Malik Benson to have a slow start, right? Nothing against him. I just said, that's just going to be reality. It's going to be a tough environment. But boy, the fact that he's come out the gate and just has been crushing it and impressing people, making big plays, that is a great sign that this guy is going to play at a very high level for Florida State early, right? And I think that's going to be important for Florida State as they get used to the new quarterback environment, whoever it's going to be. They're going to need some playmakers to step up and help that new quarterback. Again, most likely Uiagalelei, but we'll have to see how it all shakes out. They're going to need to step up and help out their new quarterback early on, get them into a rhythm because they'll be their first time starting in Tallahassee, of course. So I think Malik Benson being off to such a great start, one, against high expectations of Keon Coleman, so it's a good sign for Benson's talent level. But two, I think it'll go a long way to helping these new Florida State quarterbacks, these young Florida State quarterbacks, for making that going through that early season struggles and getting into a rhythm as they look to make a push to the college football playoff.
Yeah, Nick, and a lot of people will look at Malik Benson and the small sample size he put out early at Alabama. He only had 13 catches for 162 yards last season. But then, if you want to be fair and you want to go back to Keon Coleman's first season of play, he only had 5 catches for 30 yards and 1 touchdown. So then he got a little bit of a breakout, and then he moved over to Florida State and became the monster that everybody knows. I think Benson, statistically, if we're looking at it, he was a little bit ahead of the curve. Not too much, but I think this is a guy that can come in and really start to shine in his second year full of starting. Come over to Florida State and be a standout wide receiver. I think has the makings of a guy like Keon Coleman. I think they're both, relatively big guys over around that 200-pound mark. Coleman's a little bit bigger at like 215. But I think, big body guy, has the talent, has the athleticism, can come in to this Florida State team, and who really has done a great job recently of developing these wide receivers. I think Benson can be a huge contributor, and it's like you said, have a good guy to come in early. Ugalagale is a transfer as well. They can work together. They can get that familiarity early on. It's not like he has any preconceived favorites in the offense, so I think they can work, grow and then really get that connection of quarterback wide receiver going early on. I like what we're seeing from Florida State, and I want to keep an eye down spring ball to see how this kind of blends as time goes on.
And, I think a larger thing I want to give some credit to is Norvell, his coaching staff, and the entire structure. Because when you're bringing in transfers, people think it's just sort of easy. Oh, you bring in quality players and everything will mesh and everything will go well. The reality is it doesn't work out that very much. Fans in the National Football League see it all the time, right? A team has a great offseason. They sign a bunch of free agents, which again is analogous to signing a bunch of transfer guys, and that team struggles, right? Because even though they have talent, it doesn't all work out. It doesn't mesh. People don't get on the same page. Big egos and personalities clash, right? So we're not seeing that at Florida State. Uyagalele, Malik Benson, and last year, of course, with the addition of Coleman, we're seeing everyone on the same page. Everyone's copacetic. They're blending together. So a lot of credit is due to Norvell, his coaching staff, and the culture they set up, and also their processes and mechanisms for integrating these transfers into the program so successfully. People don't talk about that very much, but it is brutally important. It's not just getting the transfers and getting the recruits, it's putting them in a position to be successful early in the program. Because in a day and age of the NIL and, of course, transfer portal being, as now there's, I think, a two-tier offseason transfer portal, an early one and a late one. When you have all of that going on, if things don't go well early for a player, you better believe other programs are calling up that player saying, hey, you want to transfer? You want to leave? It's not going so good. Florida State completely mitigates that risk with how they handle and integrate these transfers very early into their program, getting off to such quality starts. So obviously it's a good sign for Florida State that Malik Benson is doing well so early, but it's also a good indicator of how strong the program in Florida State is becoming under Coach Norvell. A lot of credit is due to him and how he's handling the situation.